Ever heard that Mondays are the worst? Try having one in deep space. I'm Jack, and I used to be just a simple space freighter pilot. My ship, the Star Biscuit, was more rust than vessel, and my co-pilot was a perpetually lukewarm cup of coffee. One particularly grim Monday, I spilled that coffee. As if on cue, the ship shuddered, and a hollow alert blared to life, flashing a terrifying red. Incoming target lock. I remember muttering to myself, "Great. I thought Mondays couldn't get any worse." Famous last words, right? A sleek, deadly figure suddenly dropped onto the hull of my ship. I saw glowing red combat optics and a posture that screamed danger. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a heavy wrench, and pointed it at her. "Who are you?" I asked, trying to sound a lot braver than I felt. Her voice was calm, almost bored. "I'm Kira," she said. "And you just saved me from 3 bounty hunters." I just blinked. That was one heck of an introduction. "You got a complicated resume, huh?" I asked. She didn't disagree. It turns out complicated was an understatement. Kira was the top-ranked assassin in the galaxy, the #1 most feared killer for hire. And she was now standing in my cargo hold, looking around like she owned the place. My reaction? I shrugged. "So, you kill people for a living, and now you're on my ship. Cool." Then I asked the only logical question I could think of. "Want a sandwich?" She just stared at me. I think it was the first time in years anyone had offered her a sandwich instead of a contract or a threat. It was a start. Our little get-to-know-you party was interrupted when those bounty hunters decided to board the Star Biscuit. A full-blown skirmish erupted right there in my cargo bay. I fought with what I had: wrenches, screwdrivers, a very threatening-looking fire extinguisher. Kira, on the other hand, fought with, well, everything else. She was a whirlwind of lethal grace. I mostly just tried not to get shot, tripped, or vaporized. I survived by what I can only describe as pure, unadulterated dumb luck. Kira survived because she's literally the best at what she does. When the dust settled and the bounty hunters were neutralized, I looked at her, panting, and said, "You're okay, I guess." And I swear, for the first time, I saw a hint of a smirk on her face, maybe even a blush. With the immediate danger gone, we had a new problem: a busted hyperdrive. As the ship drifted silently through the void, I was trying to patch it together with spare parts and wishful thinking. Kira floated next to me in zero gravity, watching with a critical eye. "You're terrible at this," she pointed out. I couldn't really argue. "And you're terrifyingly competent," I shot back. We bumped heads by accident. Sparks flew from the console I was working on, and a forgotten coffee mug drifted lazily between us. And somewhere in that quiet, chaotic moment, floating in the middle of nowhere, something new began. A romance sparked between an assassin and a guy who just wanted to deliver his cargo on time. Living with an assassin takes some getting used to. I learned that Kira couldn't sleep unless she counted the heads of people she'd eliminated. It was her version of counting sheep. I tried to help. "You ever try counting kittens instead?" I joked. She actually laughed. It was just a short single burst of sound, but it felt like a supernova. It counted. We eventually had to land on a planet called Trixel 7, which I can only describe as a bureaucratic hellscape made of paperwork and long lines. Our mission was to clear Kira's identity and make her a legal citizen again. I did most of the talking, charming and fibbing my way through endless forms. Kira just stood behind me, rolling her eyes and occasionally making a particularly unhelpful clerk disappear, metaphorically, mostly. Our relationship took another leap forward back on the ship. We were doing repairs in the airlock when I slipped on a patch of grease. I instinctively grabbed the closest thing to me for balance, which happened to be Kira. Our lips collided. It was clumsy, awkward, and completely unplanned. Zero gravity, floating sparks from the repair tool, and one extremely embarrassed assassin. It was chaotic, hilarious, and absolutely perfect. Our first kiss. Then came the day I discovered Kira could cook. Or rather, that she couldn't. She tried to make noodles and somehow managed to set the ship's oven on fire. The smoke alarm blared, and the noodles were charred beyond recognition. But I took a bite, chewed thoughtfully, and praised it anyway. "You're a terrible chef," I laughed as I choked it down. She fired right back, "And you're a terrible pilot." The rom-com banter was officially in full swing. We even survived another pirate attack, which was becoming a regular Tuesday. My official log entry for that day read, "Pirates dead. Ship slightly burned. Romance probable." As time went on, the quiet moments became more frequent. Kira started to trust me with stories from her past, the parts of her life she'd locked away. And I learned that the galaxy's deadliest assassin had a secret soft spot for cheesy old holographic rom-coms. We'd watch them together, huddled on the bridge, laughing so hard we'd trigger the low oxygen alarms. It was in one of these moments, while I was elbow-deep in the engine, trying to fix yet another malfunction, that I tried to propose. I had a ring and everything, and then I dropped it. It clattered down into the guts of the hyperdrive compartment, lost forever. Kira just laughed, leaned in, and kissed me. The proposal was a failure, but the answer was a success. Sort of. Getting Kira officially declared a civilian was our next big adventure. We stood before a galactic council. I gave the speech of my life, arguing with passion and a few well-placed white lies. Kira stood silently beside me, occasionally glaring at anyone who looked like they were about to disagree. It worked. We walked out of there legally married, leaving behind a council that was slightly terrified but extremely happy to see us go. Then came the kids. Our first child arrived, screaming with the force of a supernova. I was a nervous wreck. Kira, the woman who could take down an entire mercenary squad without breaking a sweat, was an even bigger mess. We survived, barely. And we quickly discovered that parenting was infinitely harder than fighting space pirates. Sleep became a myth. Coffee became a religion. Chaos became our new normal. And we wouldn't have traded it for anything. 2 more kids followed, and our little cargo ship started to feel a lot more like a home. Our kids, unsurprisingly, took after both of us. I tried to teach them how to fly the ship. Kira tried to teach them stealth and tactical awareness. They combined their lessons and became experts at sneaking cookies in 0G without us noticing. We even took a galactic road trip, visiting 5 planets in 1 week. I crashed a shuttle. Kira had to jump out and save it mid-air, and the kids thought it was the most hilarious thing they'd ever seen. I think I'm too old for this, I sighed, watching the chaos unfold. Kira just smirked. Never, she said. The kids even invented a new game, laser tag on the hyperdrive deck. I got hit twice. Kira laughed, loudly. Life was a whirlwind of family hilarity, but our past wasn't completely gone. A rogue assassin from Kira's old life showed up, challenging her to a duel. But she wasn't alone anymore. I jumped in, wrench in hand. The kids hid behind crates, shouting surprisingly creative insults at the intruder. In the end, our family's unique brand of teamwork, love, and sheer chaotic energy won the day. By the time our sixth kid arrived, the Star Biscuit was less of a cargo hauler and more of a floating, slightly messy playground. One evening, Kira and I stood on the bridge, looking at each other across a landscape of toys and half-eaten snacks. I was exhausted. She was glowing. Together, we were invincible. Our life was a peaceful chaos. Family breakfasts involved cereal floating in zero gravity and kids laughing as they tried to catch it. It was absurd, and it was wonderful. I taught them bravery. Kira taught them cunning. And they taught us patience, mostly. We had a family picnic on a quiet, airless moon, watching the stars and sharing stories as our laughter echoed over the silent craters. For our anniversary, I tried to cook a fancy dinner. Kira tried to help. We set half the kitchen on fire. Again, we just laughed, kissed, and promised each other forever. Now, as old veterans of love and chaos, Kira and I often stand on the bridge and watch our children play among the stars. The pirates, bounty hunters, and rogue assassins of our past feel like a distant dream. They're irrelevant now. We have each other. We have our family. We spent our lives hauling cargo, but somewhere along the way, we started hauling hearts. And love. Love wins, always. Thanks for watching our story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.